Hello, my frog obsessed friend. Welcome to this crochet tutorial. It's my first one. So exciting. I'm going to show you how to make this frog bucket hat. So go ahead, grab your green yarn. This is from Michaels. It is a 4 medium weight yarn in the brand Impeccable. The color is Citron. And you also need one of these yarn needles, a pair of scissors, a 5mm hook, and a black and white yarn as well. But yeah, let's get started. Alright, so we're going to start with a slip knot. Just like that, that's how I make mine. And put it on our hook, and we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and insert our hook into that first stitch. Come on. Okay, then we're going to yarn over and pull through, creating a circle. You could also do this with a magic circle, but I just prefer this method. And then we're going to chain 2 and insert 10 double crochets into this center hole. Okay, so after we finish those 10, we're going to insert our hook back into this first slip chain at the top here. So see how we had, these are starting 2 chains. See this 1, 2, we're going to slip it into this third one up here. And make a little circle, and you can pull the yarn tight, the little small piece tight if you'd like. Yeah, and that's our first row. And we're going to chain 2. And now we're going to do 2 double crochets into every hole, every stitch here. So 1, 2. And we're going to do that for every single stitch around the circle. Okay, and then we're going to slip, once we finish those double crochets, then we slip into that first knot again, first chain, and like that, and you end that circle again. Now we're going to chain 2, and in our first one, in our first stitch, we're going to do 1 double crochet, and then in our second stitch, we're going to do 2. And then we're going to repeat that. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, whoopsie, 2 double crochet, 1, 2, stick up my shoe. Is that how it goes? 1, 2. Oh no, buckle my shoe. Why would there be a stick up your shoe? That would be dumb. Alright, so I'm approaching the last couple stitches. So here we are. We have 1 double crochet and then 2. And you should be ending with an increase here. Oops. So when I put 2 double crochets into a single stitch, that's called an increase. Slip stitch, and then you have that circle again. And if you can kind of tell, I don't know if you can, but you start to see this kind of line form of the ones where you're chaining. And you should start to see that form throughout your project, and it should stay straight. I'll show you again once we get a little bit further along. So we're going to chain 2. We're going to do 1 double crochet in the first, 1 double crochet in the second, and then 2 double crochets or an increase in the third. 1, 2, 3. Like that. We'll do it again. 1, 2, 3. On our third, we're increasing. And you'll start to see that when you increase, you're increasing on the same stitch that you increased before. So 1, 2, and then this one's going to be our increase, but you can see last row, we also made an increase there. So that's like a way to tell if you're on track or not, if that makes sense. Hopefully that made sense. All right. So we're approaching this last row again. So we have 3 here. 1, 2, and then our third and last stitch we're gonna increase. Oopsie. Okay, so then we slip stitch, always ending our rows with a slip stitch, and then we chain 2. And now if you can kind of see a pattern here, we're gonna do we're going to follow that pattern. So we're going to do this first one. We're going to do 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet in the second, 1 double crochet in the third, and then increase or 2 double crochets in the fourth one. Yeah. 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, and here is the increase. 1, 2, 3, and increase. Okay, approaching the last couple of rows again, and have 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 3 double crochet, and then this one will be the increase. Here we go again. We're gonna slip stitch there like I just did and chain 2, and now we got our last row where we do 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, and 2 double crochets in the 5th stitch. Yeah. So 1 double crochet here, 1 in the next one, 1 here, 1 in number 4, and in our fifth stitch, we're going to increase. So 2 for number 5. And then we're going to repeat that and continue doing that around. So like we've been doing, we got this down at this point. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, so we're finishing up this row with an increase and then slip stitching. And yeah. So I don't know if you can see this. It's a little subtle, but see how I have like this line forming here and how it's perfectly straight? That means I've done a good job of always increasing at the right spot. So if your circle isn't perfect, it's gonna kind of turn out wonky. Like this line might turn out wonky for you. And then it's probably just not gonna fit your head as nice. So make sure you're always ending on an increase, and you're always increasing in the same stitch from the row below it. That will always help. See how I increased from here and see how I increased there. So yeah, just make sure you're following the pattern and you're gonna get a better result. So this is the top of our hat so far. So we've got a circle now, right? Got a little circle going on. Yay big. For me, let me just take the measuring tape and take a look at how much it's about 6 inches in diameter, which is 15 centimeters, almost 16. And so I am going to take a look at like one of my old buckets hats. Like I just have this random one, and see how it measures up so that I can compare it, and make sure it fits me. I have like I guess kind of on the bigger side of a head. I don't know. It's 23 inches in diameter, which is like an average adult size, I hope. So I am just taking this white bucket hat I have and putting my start of my frog one and kind of comparing how it fits here. And I think it sits pretty well. So I know I'm not going to make like a child size hat because it kind of fits pretty well. But yeah, that is a good way to kind of check how your hat's going. So what happens when your, your circle is like very different than what you want it to be? Like say it's too small, you might want to add a row using the same pattern we've been going off of. So that would be chain 2 and then 5 double crochets and then increase in the 6. If it's like a little bit too big, you might want to consider changing your hook size. So when I use a smaller hook size, so right now I'm using a 5mm hook size. You might want to try using a 4mm hook size because that'll make your crochet stitches a little bit smaller, and that'll make it like a little bit more compact. Now we're going to move on to the brim, this part that covers your head. So we're going to work on the brim now, the brim. So you have this little flat piece here, right? And we're going to chain 2 like we've been doing for every row. And then we're going to insert double crochets all around the circle. We're not going to increase or anything. We're just going to put double crochets all around the circle. And what that's going to do is when you're increasing, you're making the circle grow bigger, right? But when you're just doing double crochets, no increase, you're kind of forcing it to kind of turn like this. And you'll see it by you get to like row 2 or 3, you're going to see that it's a little bit more apparent, but you're just gonna, it's just going to turn nicely. It'll be good. It'll look good. Trust me. All right, so just finished that first row. And it doesn't like really look like it's starting to turn, but you'll really start to see it soon. So we're actually going to do 6 of these rows. And I'll meet back up with you after I do a couple more. So I'm just going to do row 2 and then I'll meet back up with you. Okay, I'm on row 4 now, and you can really see how it's starting to form like a hat, a little hat. It's gonna be a hat. But yeah, so this is where I started making the brim, and when I lay it flat like this, you can see how that line I was talking about before is really starting to form there. Yeah, looks really good, looking good. So 6 rows. We've got our hat now with 6 rows. I'm gonna try it on. Alrighty, so now that you've finished that, the 6 rows, it should look a little bit something like this on your head. And then the broom is gonna stick out like that much. So yeah, we're gonna work on that now. So in this next row, as we're working on the brim, we're going to want to work in the front loops only. So we're going to chain 2 like we usually do. And then when we double crochet, we're going to do it in this front loop only. Do you see how there's 2 loops? Like this is the back loop here, and this is the front loop. We're only going to put it in that front loop. Okay. Just like that, in the front loop. All right, approaching the last couple rows here, you see how when I work in just the front loops, it's kind of forcing it out just a little bit. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, finishing up the front loop. Okay, and then I slip stitch like usual in here and chain 2. And now, so I'm first going to do the flat brim. If you want like a little bit more of a frilly brim, just skip ahead to this time, and but I'm going to show the flat brim first. So when we ended our circle, if we did the regular size, we ended with increasing on the 5th stitch. So what we're going to do with the flat brim is increase every 6th stitch. Now, if you instead ended on the 6th stitch here, then you should be increasing by 7, or increasing on the 7th stitch. So basically like 1 more than what you were doing before. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, what they are in there. So now I'm increasing on the 6th stitch here. So as you can see with this, it's the same case as what we were doing before with the head, the top part. In that you are always ending on an increase here. And you're still keeping that line straight. So yep. Insert, slip stitch, and then now our next row, you guessed it, it's going to be 7. So increasing on the 7th stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, increased on the 7th stitch. Oopsie. Okay, so we're finishing up here, finishing our 7th row, and we're finishing on that increase again. And then we're gonna slip stitch again into the first row, into that first stitch, and chain 2. And now we are going to crochet. We're going to increase on the 8th stitch, and this will be our last row. So that was number 4, 5, 6, 7, number 8. Alrighty, so we're finishing up our hat here. We finished this 8th stitch, number 8, which is an increase. And then we'll slip stitch here. And cut. And pull through. And see how we still have that line going through our whole hat. Yeah. See that? And it looks really good, pretty straight there. But yeah, that's how you know it was correct. So I'm going to take my tapestry needle now and just kind of tuck in my end. And I just do that by kind of like going through some of the old stitches just to try to hide it. Yeah, it's not a perfect method, but you just kind of do it. You can do it however you like. And this is what the flat brim looks like. I think it's cute. But we're gonna do the frilly now, and then we're gonna add the eyes and the cheeks and the mouth, and then we'll be done. Okay, so now I'm gonna be working on the brim for the frilly hat. So to do that, we are going to basically do the same step for the flat. We're just going to start by chaining 2. And then we're gonna put double crochets all around this, but we're gonna work only in the front loop. So what that means is you see these 2 loops here at the top of your crochet. You're only going to work in the one that's closest to you, the front loop. That one. And what that does is kind of forces the crochet to move out instead of, you know, just instead of continuing down, you're starting to move out. Okay, I'm finishing up the double crochet now. So now I slip stitch into the first stitch. That's what it's called. Sorry. I've slip stitched in the first stitch and now I chain 2. And now I'm going to do 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and I'm going to increase on the 3rd. I'm going to increase on the 3rd stitch. And now I'm going to just do that the entire way around, increasing every 3rd stitch. So 1, 2, increase on the 3rd. So now, because we're increasing more, it's going to make more folds and bends in our work. And it's actually going to create like this kind of frilly look. If you want it more frilly, you could definitely do more increases. I just think this is like a good amount of frilly. I kind of like this shape. Like it's not excessive, but it's like still a good, like fun, cute frilly. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. And yeah, so I'll meet you around the end to finish this row. And yeah, so I'm finishing up the row here. So I'm going to 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and an increase on the 3rd, finishing up the 2nd row of the brim. Like before, we're also going to end on an increase before we slip stitch and into the row, because that's just how it is. It's going to stay more consistent that way. Otherwise, you're probably not following the pattern correctly. But on the brim, I don't think it actually makes that big of a difference. As long as you're like the hat is like the bottom part is a little more obvious when you're doing this area and you're not increasing correctly. But if you really want it perfect, like this is the way to do it. So our next row, we're gonna do 3 double crochets, and then we're gonna increase on the 4 stitch. And just like before, when we're doing the perfect circle, we're increasing on the previous increased stitch, like on the bottom row. I don't think that made any sense what I just said there. But yeah, so we're increasing on that 4th stitch. So now I am finishing up this 3rd row of the brim. And I am also ending on another increase because I have 1 double crochet here, 2 here, 3 here, and now I'm ending on an increase again. Awesome. Okay, so now I slip stitch into that 1st row, and now I'm going to chain 2, and this is my last and final row. You can see that my line stayed perfectly straight throughout. It's just, you know, like, looks good. And now I'm going to do 4 double crochets and then increase on the 5th stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and now increasing on that 5th stitch. I put 2 double crochets into that 5th stitch for an increase. Dope. And this is our last row, so I'm just gonna do that all around and I'll meet you at the end. Okay. Alright, so I'm approaching the end of our hat. So I have those 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3, 4, 4, and now an increase. Perfect. And so I slip stitch in there, and then I just get my scissors. Oops, sorry. Snip my yarn end, and then I pull this through to end the hat. And that's what it looks like with the frilly brim. I'm just going to tuck in this end with a tapestry needle. Okay, so this is what the hat looks like on. And this is also a great pattern for just like a regular bucket hat. It doesn't have to be a frog bucket hat. You just get a little 2-for-1. So like if you wanted to stop here, you totally could. We're gonna do the eyes and then the cheeks and the mouth. And then we're gonna call it a day. So now for the eyes, we're gonna take our black yarn, which is gonna be the center color of the eye. Alright, so we're gonna take our black yarn, and this is also the same size for like medium 4 weight yarn. We're gonna tie a slip knot, and we're gonna chain 4, just like we did in the beginning of our hat. And then we're gonna slip into the 1st stitch, chain 2, and then put 10 double crochets into the center hole. So we're going to slip into that 1st knot and pull through and cut. Then I'm going to take my white yarn and then I'm just going to tie it on to the black. Just anywhere is fine. Tie it on, we're going to do 2 half double crochets in every stitch. So I chain 1, and then I insert 2 half double crochets into every stitch. Okay, so for the green and final piece of the eye, we're just gonna tie it on here and tie. And then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm gonna do 1 single crochet and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch. So I'm increasing every other stitch basically. So 1 in this stitch, 2 in the next. And again, you should be ending on that increase. Per usual. And then we slip stitch, and that is 1 eye. Well, 1/2 of an eye. So you're gonna make 2 of those. So for the back of the eye, we're basically doing the same thing as this, but we're doing it all green, so we don't have to like change colors and whatnot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the slip knot per usual. We're going to chain 4, and then we're going to do 10 double crochets into that center loop. Basically like you're starting another hat. Just like in the white here, we slip stitch into this row, and then we're just gonna chain 1. And we're gonna do 2 double or half double crochets into every single stitch. So I chain 1, 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochets into every single stitch. And then finally, we're going to do the last round of single crochets. We're going to chain 1, and then we'll do a single crochet, and then the second stitch we do 2 single crochets. We increase. Okay, so now we should have the back and the front be the same size, and then we're going to combine them together after we make 1 more of each. So, yep. Also for the back piece, I like to pull the yarn a little bit long. That way, I'm going to use this excess yarn to tie it, not tie it, but like to combine these 2 together, stitch them together. And I'm also going to use it to attach it to the hat. So, I don't know, maybe like 2 feet extra, 3 feet. Probably not that much, but I like to have a little bit of extra just in case, and so I pull through all the way on this. This is probably a little too long. Make sure you make 1 more of each of these, and then I will meet you back. Okay, so now we have 2 eye fronts, I guess, and 2 eye backs. So we're just going to take one of these backs and how we're gonna attach it is, since we left this really long at the end, we're gonna thread our yarn needle, and then we just kind of push them up against each other, tucking in the ends into the center, and you just kind of go back and forth between the two, like the two eye backs, the front and back. So I just go through all of the loops here, so going through this loop and then going through the back loop as well. And yeah, that's pretty much how I attach them. It's not a perfect science, you know. It is what it is. But that's pretty much it to attach. So now I take my hat and I find where that line was that I was talking about, make sure it stays straight, because you don't want to see that line from the back. You don't want to see the line like from the front, so you just want to make sure it's perfectly lined in the back here, and then flip your hat so that this is your front part now. And I put my eye about here, which is, I count down 3 rows and put it like about here. And I just kind of do the same thing, but like, it's kind of hard to explain. I think just visually, I'm just going to show you how I attach it here by just pulling through and then going through all of these loops back here and pulling tight. So I'm basically like going through the hat and the eye. You basically attach it. I attach it for about 3 rows. You could do a little bit more if your eye is like feeling a little bit like not secure. But once you do that, I just kind of take my yarn and then I go to the inside of my hat here, because I also want to thread it through the inside just to make it a little bit more secure. It's going to force the it's gonna like make this part pinch a little bit, and what that does is it kind of forces the hat up like this a little bit more, like the eye is gonna sit a little bit better. Otherwise it's a little bit more floppy if you don't do it, but honestly it's not a big deal if you don't want to do this part. It's really up to your preference. So I kind of get the needle to the inside of this area here, and now I'm in the inside of my hat, and I just kind of thread through all of this area that you can tell where the eye is. You just kind of feel for it, and I just thread it just so that I'm going through everything, and it's kind of forcing this little chunk to pop up and keep the eye in better place. It can be a little bit difficult because you're kind of just going through a lot of yarn at one time, but just go slow. You'll get it. And then I kind of just end up doing a couple knots just to make it a little bit more secure. I don't want the eye to like accidentally fall off or something. That would be rough. But yeah, and then I clip it, thread it through a little bit, and then I trim off this yarn, and then we have one eye done. But yeah, see how it kind of sits a little bit better in there? I don't know if you can tell or not, but it is a little bit less floppy to me. Like I really have to push it back and forth. And so it's going to sit on your head a little bit nicer too. So yeah, that's why I do that little last part there. And then I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side with this eye. And then we are going to attach the cheeks and mouth and we're almost done. Yeah. Okay, yay. We have our hat done pretty much. We just need to add, I mean, you can also finish it like this. I like adding the cheeks in the mouth. I think they're really cute. So we're gonna add that now. Get some pink cheeks. So we're gonna chain, slip knot, and chain 4 like we usually do. But instead of 10 double crochets, we're going to put in 8 half double crochets. So we chain 1 and then we insert 8 half double crochets into the center. Slip stitch and that, and I also like to keep these long because I'm just going to attach it using the extra string. That's probably like a foot maybe. You probably don't even need that much, honestly. And then I pull this tight and that is one cheek. And then we'll do another one. So we slip knot, chain 4 like usual, insert into the first stitch. I'm having trouble doing this. Okay, and then pull through, and then chain 1 and put 8 half double crochets into the center. And then we're going to take our yarn needle and attach our cheeks to the hat. And I usually count down about 6 rows. Yeah, like about here is where I put them. Maybe like 2 inches from the side. You don't have to follow my way exactly. You can put them wherever you want to, really. But yeah. So then I just attach by going through the hat and the cheeks at the same time. And then I come to the inside, and then I just kind of tie off. And yeah, make a couple knots just to keep it a little bit more secure. So there we have one cheek, and then I repeat it with the other cheek. Probably about there is good. So now for the mouth, I'm just going to take a decently long, I don't know, I always cut my yarn a little too long. Probably 2 feet is more than plenty. So I'm just gonna come to the inside and stitch with the needle a little smile. So I'm gonna come in here and just going through any of these loops back here, I'm gonna tie on this yarn so it's a little bit more secure. And then I'm going to come to the front here and just carefully stitch it on. So I just start kind of maybe about a centimeter from the cheek, and then I just go through and pull. And then I come up from the inside and go back through this. And sometimes I kind of like to try to poke through the yarn just so it makes it look more continuous, not like kind of like stitched as much, you know. But that way is a look as well. And then pull up and pull through. I just keep doing that, kind of freehand it. You can make the smile as big or as small as you want to. You can even make a frowny face. You can do whatever you want to, really. But yeah, this is how it's looking. Now I have my little smiley face on. Super cute. So I'm going to come to the back here and just tie off my yarn just so that everything is secure. Going through a couple of loops in the back and pulling through. Making sure that I didn't accidentally like go through one of the front loops, because then that would, you know, make it a weird smile. And then I tie off and then I should be good to go. Cut and we're all done. We got our little frog hats. Yay! So cute. So that is the tutorial, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you like this tutorial. I'm going to be making some more in the future. Let me know like what you want to see from me. And yeah, subscribe to see some more of these tutorials. And just as a reminder, like just because I share this online and I share this for you to use, it doesn't make it okay for you to sell this. This pattern's for personal use only. And so please keep that in mind. Please be respectful of artists and creators who take the time to share tutorials online. If you make your own frog hat, I really want to see it. So tag me on Instagram, tag me on TikTok. I really love to see how your frog hat turned out, what you do with it, so that we can all be frog friends. But yeah, so if you enjoyed this, please make sure to like and subscribe, and follow me for future things. Yeah.